smell the hot dogs? Do you smell the popcorn? Do you smell the burgers? Do you hear the cheerleaders? Do you hear that band? Do you hear those pads? Are you ready for some football? Are you ready for some football? Hey, Collier County, man. Are you ready for some football, man? Come on, man. Let's ride.
It's not too late.
It's your boy, Triple Black, a.k.a. the number one stunner, a.k.a. the boss, a.k.a. Steve Atwater, Terrell Suggs, and Ray Lewis. We hitting hard, bitch. Anyways, man, welcome to No Cupcake Zone podcast, man. Sponsored by CJ Noel Insurance Services, man. I got a great show coming up. I got an Adam Fisher in the building, man. Hey, boy, we about to preview the upcoming season in high school football season, man. He's been on the show a couple times, man. I had to do the preview, man, for the beginning of the season, man. Great dude, man. Hey, you guys check Adam Fisher out, man. He's on the Naples Daily News, man. Hey, I'm going to take a quick commercial break, man, and we're going to get right back into the action, man. Hey, shout out to everybody on Facebook, Twitter, IG. Make sure you go to NoCupcakeZone.com. Also, go to Spreaker, iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. Subscribe and like my podcast, man. Also, leave me all types of messages or whatever, man. You know what I'm saying? No trolling, though. You already know what it is, man. Holla at your boy, man. Holla at your boy.
I know that things are going wrong for me. You gotta listen to my words.
Man, welcome to No Cupcake Zone, man. I'm excited, man. This is actually the third time I had this gentleman on the show, man. We got Adam Fisher from Naples Daily News. Or is it News Press? I don't even know anymore, man. Round of applause. What's going on, Mr. Fisher, man? You ready to talk some football?
You know, I am. I'm actually getting pretty excited about the season. It's the preseason now, so I've been going around to a bunch of different practices, different schools, and I think it's going to be another good year, man. I'm ready to talk.
You ready to talk, man? I'm excited, man. I've been waiting for a long time, man. Been chomping at the bit. I actually had a couple people hit me up on Twitter and said, man, when is that preview coming, man? Hey, next week, man, they ready to go. Or this week. This Friday, right?
That's right. We got games this Friday, man. Preseason games, August 18th, and pretty much get rolling from there.
No doubt, man. Anyways, man, let's bust a couple shots, man. One of the things I've been reading is the Big 15, man. Let's bust some shots at that, man. What you think about that whole list? I didn't even see the whole thing. I don't know who's number one on there, but talk about it, man.
We haven't released our number one yet, but basically what it is, it's the countdown of the top 15 recruits in Southwest Florida. Now, I say recruits as in college football recruits, not the best players.
Okay. I was gonna bust a couple shots. So basically,
sure.
It's on paper. This is like the underwear Olympics, basically.
You can say
who
that.
has the best chest? Who's the tallest? Who's the biggest? And who's supposed to be the best? But it ain't the best, right?
I mean, basically, if you can look at it that way, because it's who has the best college interest, and so much of that is based on what you said: who's the biggest, who's the tallest, who's the fastest, not who puts up the best numbers on the field. Unfortunately, so I will tell you, this is an idea that the Fort Myers News Press came up with a couple years back, And as you said in the intro, we are now the same company. The Naples Daily News, the Fort Myers News Press are both owned by USA Today. And so we did the project again, and this time we had input from the Naples Daily News. And so basically, yeah, it's a recruiting list, basically, is what it is. It's not who we think the best players are, who's going to have the best season. It's who is the hot recruits down here in Southwest Florida. And so, man, some people have been upset. Prime example, our number one player last year, our Broxton Trophy winner in Collier County for the best overall football player, was Lely quarterback Jacques Carter. He had like 3,000 yards, 31 touchdowns. He's back for his senior season. He transferred to Palmetto Ridge, but he's still down here playing. He didn't make the top 15, and some people are upset. And I told him, look, man, you're a great player, but he doesn't have the offers that some of these guys have, right or wrong. That's nothing against Jacques because he's a fantastic player. But there are a lot of good players this year. He even said last year this one kid made the list, and he didn't have any offers. Look, man, this is a very, very, very good list. Our number 15 players already committed to Virginia Tech. So it's a lot of guys with a lot of big offers, especially up there in Lee County. You got to figure it's Lee County and Collier County combined. So there are some good players left off this list, and that's just kind of the way that we do it. It's recruiting and not numbers, if that makes sense to you.
Okay. So there are some Jamarcus Russells in there. There's some busts in there.
But we don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. It's very, very possible, man. There are some guys on here, if you look at their resume and their numbers, they haven't done a ton, They haven't proved it on the field so much yet. But college coaches love them, and so much of that, like we said, is just size and speed, man. College coaches love size and speed.
Okay, man. I just wanted to clear that list up. But there's a couple players, man, especially from Lee County, that I seen in person are crazy. Did anybody on the Immokalee make that list?
No one did, and that's been kind of a hot topic.
Oh my God! Let me bust a couple shots. Hey, news press. Somebody needs to come from the news press and please explain themselves. You know what I'm saying? You can't say big. You know what I'm saying? They're like LeVar Ball or something. They're talking about big baller brand, but
big
you know
baller,
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey, come on, man. You don't got nobody from Immokalee? Are you crazy?
Here's the thing, as I explained, it's not the best players, it's not the most talented, it's the biggest recruits. And like it or not, man, recruiting is big business these days. It's what people love to read about. And that's a hot topic in Immokalee. Not that they felt they were left off the list, but that they felt that their kids aren't getting recruited. They got a stud out there, two-way player, Shedro Lewis, wide receiver, defensive back. Coach Kramer there at Naples actually nominated him as one of the top players last year. But he doesn't have any offers as far as I know. They got two really good running backs who combined for 2,000 yards last year. They don't have any offers.
Malcolm Jackson. Did you guys see that guy shred like the state champions? Like he had a terrific game, like in the spring game.
Yeah, him and Fred Green are their 1-2 punch out there. Fred Green had 1,300 yards last year. He doesn't have any offers. A lot of it is, as we talked about, size. Fred Jackson is not a big kid at all. A lot of it is just playing in a small town, small school. It's tough to get that exposure, and that's difficult.
But Immokalee should be on the map. You know how many D1 players that they put in school? Yeah. Oh, my God. But anyways.
And I'm going to be honest.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, a lot of it is, and this is no disrespect to the guys out there because I don't know what's going on, but I found that the coaches that really, really pound it and push the colleges, that their effort is to get their players into college, those are the ones that end up getting more scholarships, if that makes sense. So a lot of it is just having coaches that are basically salesmen. But I'm not saying Rodland Anthony doesn't do that. I don't know. I think these guys are just small, but I remember back, a few years ago, Barron Collier, they seemed to get a whole bunch of guys, even though the team wasn't great in college, but that was a big point of emphasis for them. Was, hey, we want to get these guys into college. So a lot of it is just marketing and salesmanship.
Okay, man. Hey, man, but Naples Daily or News Press, whatever y'all name is, man,
Naples Daily News.
Shout out to you guys, man. Love the list, man.
Yeah.
Hey, man, what is your opinion on these new open borders? Do we need to call Donald Trump?
You're talking about the recruiting, the school of choice bill down here in Florida?
What is your opinion, man?
Man, it's difficult. As a parent, my daughter just started kindergarten, so I'm officially a school parent now.
Yeah.
I see the advantages and I see what they're trying to do. They want kids, from an educational standpoint, to be able to go to any school they want. You shouldn't be confined to a bad school if that's where you live. It's hard sometimes to get up and just move out to a different school district. But at the same time, the transfer rules are rough. For those unfamiliar, the FHSAA, actually the state legislature, stuck their nose into high school sports and decided this bill. It used to be through the FHSAA, the High School Association. If you transferred a high school, you could not play sport at that new school for a year. It was to prevent kids from transferring specifically for sports. Well, now the state legislature said that wasn't fair to these kids. If someone wants to transfer, they should be allowed to do it. So you can transfer anytime you want to any school you want. You could live in Lee County and go to school in Collier County. You could live in Collier County and go to school in Jacksonville if you want to, as long as you drive there every day and play sports up there. You could transfer mid-year. You could play football at Naples High. You could play baseball at Barron Collier and soccer at Immokalee if you wanted to, if you got accepted to all those schools. So you ask what I think about it. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think, any AD will tell you it's bad. It's creating kind of a free agent market for players. I've already kind of seen anecdotally a lot of more transfers this preseason. And part of it is just because we're looking for it. It's a hot topic, but it's kind of creating chaos, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Hey, if I was in front of the governing body, I'd blow the whistle right here. Just right here. Blow the whistle on them. Hey, that's a 15-yard penalty for making our kids too soft and entitled. Let me blow another whistle. You guys are out of the game. Get out of here. Get out of here. Come on, man. They're making these kids so entitled. High school is supposed to be experience. Now, you can create a super team. So you can go to one school for football, go to one school for basketball, and probably run track at a different school. There's nothing stopping you, right?
Yeah. In theory, you could, and it's already been, the transfer rules were always pretty relaxed in Lee County anyways. Again, I mentioned Coach Kramer. He's never been shy about calling teams out. He called North Fort Myers the North Lee County All-Stars because they got a ton of transfer kids. One of these kids on our Big 15 list we talk about, Fanaje Gote, he started at South Fort Myers. He was number, 5 on our list. But now he's at North Fort Myers, and he's a stud linebacker. He's got offers from Louisville, Arizona, NC State, and all that. So he's one of those kids that's bounced around. You see it a lot in Lee County, and now those kids can even come to Collier County if need be. So it's kind of wild out there.
Hey, I'm going to be on Big Dream Sports, and I'm going to bust a couple shot at Lee County, right? My compadres, man. Make sure you guys check out that show. But anyways, so North Fort Myers just has an all-star team. They got Island Coast's quarterback. They got South Fort Myers' linebacker. Dunbar is an all-star, program. Hey, FBA's in high school now, or FBU. FBU's in high school now. Might as well just make high school AAU.
Well, you know what? I mean, we might see it. You talk about basketball. It's all about AAU and the travel teams, and it may not be too far off. You mentioned FBU, and youth football has gotten so big, and we may see travel teams, and that may be the wave of the future. Who knows?
Yeah, man. Hey, man, but one topic that I want to cover really quick, and then we'll get into the team, man, is the spread offense, man. What's your opinion on that? I had a discussion in a chat room one time. Is it harming kids' future because they're not learning a lot of fundamental skills. Because I don't even know if quarterbacks know how to hand off the ball in under center anymore.
I don't know if it's hurting them because that's what you're seeing at the other level. You know, I mean, if a kid wants to go play in college, odds are they're going to be in the shotgun. They're going to be whipping the ball around a whole lot. They'll be doing the you don't see the read option as much up in the pros, but a lot of the high school teams are going to that. That's where, you know, the quarterback can either hand it off or run it, which we see Naples is doing. Laley's moving to that. I don't know if it's hurting kids just because I think that's the way football is going. It's funny, I was talking to a coach today about a team, and he said, well, I don't know if their defense is any good. He goes, but, you know, no one plays defense anymore. This is a former coach, by the way, not a current coach. But he said, nobody plays defense anymore. They just try to outscore each other. And I'll be honest with you, as a reporter and as a fan, I freaking love it. I think it's fantastic. I want every game to be in the 50s and 60s. It's exciting. It's fun to watch. I don't care about defense. I enjoy it. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can have fun watching the Immokalee because they can't stop nobody.
Yeah, man. Well,
shout out.
They got a young defense. You got a ton of people on offense. So, yeah, Moxley's going to put up some points.
Yeah. Hey, man, let's talk about, we're going to, you know, there's a pecking order in Collier County. We're going to talk about the best team in Collier County, man. What have you seen so far in Naples High, man?
So Naples High School, man, they got a lot of talent, as they always do. But it's funny, you know, Naples always wins games, but if you look back, they haven't had a ton of, like, big-time recruits. They have one or two every year, maybe one every couple of years. Last year, they didn't really have anyone go D1. This year, they got 3 D1 guys, at least. You got a running back, Ches Malusi, who's just a junior. He's got offers from 13 BCS schools. Sammy Falston, a defensive back that's committed to Michigan. And who am I forgetting? Oh, the receiver, Wooby Theork. He just committed to Virginia. And they got a ton of talent. They just got a kid transferred from Laley, receiver Tajon Wright. Their quarterback is back, and they got another quarterback who Kramer really likes. So they got talent this year. They don't have a ton back up front. On defense, they got about half the dudes back. So there's a buzz around Naples this year, which you didn't see last year. Not that last year was a down year. They just didn't have that buzz, I guess. You know, no one was, I think, outside the team expecting them to compete for a state championship. This year, I wouldn't be surprised, man, to see them win a regional championship, to get to the state semifinals, and once you get there, who knows? So there is some excitement, some buzz. Preseason poll is going to come out here in a next week, and I assume they're going to be ranked in the top 10 in Class 6A. So, yeah, there's some excitement around that program.
Yeah, man. Hey, I saw the Naples schedule, and, you know, Coach Kramer already has the state championship to be announced on there.
Yeah, man, that's a motivational thing. But he does that every year. He'll have to do a little the step ladder there of all the steps they got to take to the state finals, and you always put that state championship on there. That's always the goal there at Naples High School.
Yeah, man. Hey, talk about what you've seen, you know, some players to watch. One player, you know, he's one of my co-worker's sons, Elon Samala, man, little running back. He's got a little bit of wiggle to him, man. Talk about some players, man, that's been tearing up in camp.
So just for Naples or just in Collier County in general?
Naples right now.
So I mentioned the guys on offense. I really like Naples quarterback, Justin Prasad Tyrone. They call him JPT. He started last year as a junior, and, you know, the quarterback in the Naples offense is going to get a bunch of yards because I talked about the read option where the quarterback can run the ball if they so choose. They're going to run, they're going to throw. He had, I think, 31 total touchdowns, over 2,000 yards. He's a quick kid. He's real athletic. So I think he's going to do some good things this year. I mentioned Ches Malusi, their running back, the receivers. I mean, they got talent at the skill positions. They're going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, they got some big linemen, too. Or they got a big guy, Hinton. It's a big dude.
Hinton, yeah, he's like 6'3". I was at practice today, and again, man, Naples, for as good as they are, they always win games. They don't have big-time Division I guys, and they never have, like, huge dudes on the line. It's not like you're seeing, like, those 6'6", 300-pound dudes. But I was just standing there at practice, and they have some big dudes. I saw Hinton. He's a big guy. Talked to another lineman who's about 6'2", so they actually have more size this year, it seems, and that's just from looking at them. I haven't compared, to last year, but look like they have some big dudes out there.
Yeah. Talk about the quarterback situation a little bit, because I saw that JPT is listed at wide receiver, too. Is he going to be sharing time?
So, yeah, that's interesting. So, like I said, JPT had a great season last year, great season. So you assume he's coming back as a starter, but Kramer said it's a legit quarterback competition between a guy named Kyle Key, who was a JV quarterback last year, and he looks like a quarterback. Like he's just a tall, kind of strapping young dude who looks like he can whip the ball around like a traditional quarterback. JPT's not that big. He's more of a running quarterback. He can throw the ball well. He threw for 1,200 yards last year. So Kramer has these guys competing, and he says, look, I need my best guys on the field. I need my 22 best athletes, and JPT and Kyle Key are both in my best 22 athletes. So whoever's not the starting quarterback is probably going to be on the field in some other capacity. So I said, how's that going to look? We're going to see Jordan lined up at receiver. Is Kyle Key going to be a tight end? He's like, I don't know. We'll figure that out when we get there, but for now, he wants them both out there, and I would imagine we'd see some of that. Just because I said Jordan, he's a fast kid. He's very athletic. He could probably play receiver or running back.
Is he getting any looks?
No, he's not real big. He's probably about 5'10", 180, 170. He took a visit to Navy, so Navy is interested in him, but they haven't offered a scholarship yet. So he doesn't have any scholarship offers just yet, but he is getting a few looks from some of those lower tier schools.
Okay. Moving along briskly, man. Immokalee, man, have you been out there yet?
I have, yep.
Yeah? So, let's talk about their quarterback situation, man. Do they have, the grammatical brothers, like the little guys, playing quarterback?
They did. So they got Nate Betancourt, who was technically the starter last year, but they had a freshman coming in. RJ Rosales,
yeah.
And so Betancourt was the main starter, but their coach, Roblin Anthony, was not shy about flipping those guys around, and RJ would come in, and he's a dynamic little player. People in Immokalee have known RJ since he was, in middle school. He played for a Pop Warner team that I think won state or did pretty well as far as youth football goes. He played really well last year. He's going to have both these guys going at it again. Betancourt's a senior. Rosales will be a sophomore. And as far as I know, it's going to be the same old. They both played games they both played time in the spring game. So I think we're going to see more of that.
Man, on paper, Immokalee should do some damn things on offense, man. What do you see from the defense?
Yeah. I don't know. They, first of all, Immokalee never has a bunch of dudes. Like, they got about, from what Roblin Anthony tells me, they have 35 kids on varsity. Now, that may be a little low number, but either way, for a 5A school, that's not very many kids. So depth is always a question there. If somebody gets hurt, who fills in? They don't have a ton of starters back on defense anyways. I want to say like 3 or 4. They did just add, I found out today, a kid who, if you follow Immokalee, you'll know his name, Abraham Alsey, who started at linebacker as a freshman. He's back. So we talk about transfers, man. He bounced up to Dunbar as a sophomore, went over to Plantation American Heritage last year as a junior, won a state championship, and he rushed for over 400 yards last year as a junior, I guess. And now he's back in Immokalee. Anthony says he's going to play linebacker. He's going to slide in there at running back, even though they've already got 2 stud running backs in Immokalee. So he's going to bolster that defense, and he's a big dude. He's 6'1", 230.
I thought he was getting looks from like Miami and those big schools.
He got offered from Miami this summer. He got an offer from Miami, Boston College, Wisconsin, and like a few other Division I.
As a linebacker?
That's a good question. I don't know. I assume maybe it's a linebacker, but I don't know for sure.
Wow. Okay. So they don't have no D1 outstanding offers right now.
No, and as I said, man, they got, how it is in Immokalee, they always got speed. They got the quickest dudes. You remember that Naples game last year, Immokalee and Naples, the final score was like 60-42.
Right.
The kid I mentioned earlier, Shedro Lewis, who plays both ways, a defensive back and receiver. He had 4 receiving touchdowns in the first half against Naples. I mean, he's got skills, and Fred Green has skills. They're not big guys. Both of them 5'9", 5'10", maybe 160 pounds.
Right. So you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hit you. I hear you. Man, so that's very surprising, man. With the advent of recruiting services and Huddle and Twitter and all that, you would think, man,
right.
You can't, because they play like big-time schools like Dunbar. How can they not see the speed and the athleticism on that team? But, I'm sure, good things come to those who wait. I'm sure they're going to start getting looks.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man.
and they do have a kid who I'm not that familiar with, who's, I think, a lineman, Fluriat, who just committed to Toledo. He's a lineman, so I don't know him that well. It's tough to keep track of linemen just because there aren't stats to track them, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I do have at least one kid going D1, Division 1 Toledo. But we may see more, like you said, as the season goes on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Have you been down to Lely yet, man?
I have. I was down there this week talking to Gene Joseph, who's one of the top returning guys, and their new young quarterback out there, plus their new coach. So a lot of turnover at Lely.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, shout out to Lely, man. I got a nephew that's on their JV squad, so I got to definitely root for them, man. Gene Joseph, man, that guy is a monster last year, man. I saw that he got an offer from Southern Miss, but with his ability and what he done on the field, I'm surprised that he's not fielding a lot better off. I mean, it's a good offer, but big time offers, because I seen him play his highlights against Dunbar, which is off the charts. He was blowing by people, and Dunbar got nothing but track stars. And Charlotte, he was blowing by them too. Barron, they I but it seems like he should be a lot more, people should be a lot more excited about him.
I agree, man. He is electric. He kind of burst on the scene last year as a junior. As a sophomore, he didn't play a ton, didn't put up a bunch of stats, but last year, man, he led the Collier County in receiving with over 600 yards, led Collier County in receiving touchdowns with 11, I believe, and he didn't catch a ton of balls. He had maybe like 38 receptions, which means he's averaging almost 20 yards a catch, which means he's breaking free from guys. He's not getting these little he didn't get that by volume. It's not like he caught 100 passes for 600 yards. And he returned a kick and a punt for a touchdown. He returned an interception for a touchdown. He might have returned a fumble for a touchdown. He plays both ways.
14 touchdowns. 14.
Yeah. He probably only touched the ball 50 times. So that's a pretty good ratio right there. So yeah, he's electric, man. He's quick. He's speedy. And as we talked about turnover, that quarterback who we got all those balls from last year, Jaquez Carter, transferred to Palmetto Ridge. Gene Joseph stays put. They got a new quarterback there, Dudon. His first name is escaping me, Jonas Dudon. He's a sophomore. He played running back and receiver last year, so I don't see them being as pass-heavy, but even the new coach, Fritz Jaquez and Gene Joseph, told me they're going to get him the ball. Whatever they do, whether that's a sweep, a pitch, a short little dump off, a screen to him. Gene Joseph, I think, we'll get a lot of balls this year, and maybe the colleges will come calling.
Yeah. Hey, Henderson Francois, man, I saw a video that went viral. That kid got some leaping ability, man. Man.
Yeah, I interviewed him when I was doing the story that will be in tomorrow's newspaper. Check that out. Tuesday's newspaper. I don't know when this is dropping. But, he's cut. He's about 5'10", 5'11", and he's only a junior. Yeah, man, he's a freak of nature, just athletic, muscular, strong. He, as a freshman, he played at community school, and he rushed for something like 500-600 yards, and that's because he got hurt. Actually, I think it was 800 yards, and he got hurt. I think the season ended early. Yeah. Didn't play last year. but for whatever reason, transferred to Naples and didn't play football. So he's been out for a year, which will be interesting to see how he adapts to getting back into the game and a new offense, new system at Laley. But Coach Fritz out there is very excited about him, expects big things from him.
Yeah, absolutely. With that athletic ability and leaping ability, man, he's going to do some big things. And plus, he's probably going to be a workhorse because I don't think they have too much on offense because they're so young.
No. And they lost like their top 3 running backs from last year. One transferred and some graduated. So not a ton of other experienced running backs around him. So, yeah, he'll probably get him and Gene Joseph. We'll get a lot of work for sure.
Yeah, man. Was there anybody that was popping out? Because I heard they always have athletes, man. It's anybody else that was popping out. One guy that was popping out was this Nigerian kid or African kid. I'm sorry to get him mixed up. He looks like a pretty good athlete. He was playing in the spring, and they were just trying him out in different positions.
What's his name? I don't think I know him.
Oh, I should have got the name. But he's playing linebacker and defensive end. He looked pretty athletic. Okay. But did anybody else stick out to you?
Well, I know. So last year, Laley threw the ball a ton, and 3 of their receivers were in the top 10 receiving in Collier County. One of them, Tajon Wright, has 500 receiving yards. He transferred to Naples. So that's another weapon Naples has. But Nelson Charlotte, he same thing, 400 receiving yards, top 10 in the county. He's a fast guy. So Fritz told me when I was out there, the new coach, Fritz Jacquet, he said they got 6 guys that run 4.5 40.
Wow.
I think that's the number he told me. But he said, what high school team has that outside of Immokalee and Dunbar? Now, unfortunately, they're in the same district that has Immokalee and Dunbar, so that may not be good for them, but they definitely have speed.
Yo, absolutely, man. Hey, man, moving on, man, the next school we're going to talk about, man, is Palmetto Ridge, man. Palmetto Ridge, man. What did you see out there, man?
So, obviously, the storyline with them is they got those 2 stud transfers. Jaquez Carter, new quarterback, and by the way, his dad was the offensive coordinator at Laley last year. Laley had a coach, Maurice Belzer, was only there 1 year, didn't quite fit in. Part of that was he was trying to, mix in with the old coaches who were on Colmer St. Jean's staff who got fired the year before. So Maurice Belzer fired his offensive coordinator at the end of the year. The offensive coordinator is Alan Carter.
After they put up record numbers, hey, shout out to Coach Belzer. Here you go. Let me blow the whistle on you, too. Penalty. Too much. I don't even know what penalty. We just gonna throw him out of the game. Get out.
Well, he got thrown out of Laley. I'm sure he's not there anymore.
What the hell? They put up a record number of offensive stats and everything, and the offensive coordinator got fired. How about fire? He should have just fired himself for punting on the 10-yard line. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or going for it. Going for it.
Well, Laley's lost, man. That's Palmetto Ridge's game. So they were looking for an offensive coordinator. Hired Alan Carter, who was, Jaquez Carter's dad. So he's a new quarterback out there, a guy that, threw for 2,000 yards last year. They also get running back DeMarcus Townsend. We talk about recruits. He was on our Big 15 list, I think number 8, something like that, number 9. Ran for 800 yards at the Gulf Coast last year. So he's at Palmetto Ridge. They went 3-6 last year after going, 8-2 the year before, a school record in Chris Tokenen's first season. So I expect Palmetto Ridge to be a lot better, man. I think they're going to look pretty good this year.
Yeah. Man, how else do they look? What they got on defense and other players notable?
Well, that's the funny thing, man. We were talking earlier about games or defense and people not stopping, just trying to outscore each other. Their spring game was one of those wild, 45-44 games. Yeah. Carter had 4 touchdowns. So I think they're young on defense, It's probably going to give them headaches out there if you're a coach on the Palmetto Ridge coaching staff, but if you're a fan in the stands, it's going to be pretty exciting to watch.
Yeah. Man, I still can't understand the Carter situation. You know, he made All-State, I think, first team as an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he has like a couple offers, I think, from Toledo and Utah, maybe a couple other,
Right.
Lower tier offers. What is the story on him? Because he has enough exposure. He's not a little guy. I think he might be slight in stature, but they can put a little bit of weight on him. He's about 6'2", has a nice arm,
Right.
decent speed. After I see him take off on Naples, he might be a little bit faster than I thought he was. Is it just because quarterbacks, the recruiting process is a lot, I guess a lot more, they're more under a microscope?
Well, yeah, I think there might be more out there, and he's not a traditional quarterback in the sense that he might be run first. I know he threw a lot last year. That sounds dumb to say that, but he creates a lot of plays with his legs, taking off and running. And what I've heard from other coaches is he is prone to mistakes. He threw some interceptions. He made some fumbles, maybe staying in the pocket too long or trying to tuck the ball and run. That may chase some college coaches off. Again, that's just what I've heard from opposing coaches. You're right. He's a skinny guy. He's tall. He's lengthy. He's 6'2". So he's probably 160 maybe. I don't know if that's the problem. We'll see. Last year was kind of his first year. It was a breakout year. I don't know if colleges want him to prove it, if he has another real good year this year. I mean, let's be honest. Like you said, he's got an offer from Toledo, Utah State, I think Southern Miss as well. So those are Division I schools, man. I mean, most kids would kill for a Division I offer. So he doesn't have the offers of, say, these kids are a Big 15, but he'll play football somewhere, college football somewhere.
Well, it's just surprising because I see him, he goes to these camps and stuff like that. I'm surprised, like, UCF and USF, like those type schools are not all over him. It's just kind of surprising to me, But,
right, you would think in-state, FAU, FIU, somebody like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And he'll get all the exposure because DeMarcus Townsend doesn't have any shortage of offers. He's got offers everywhere. Yeah. Yeah,
and it's like the other coaches talk about this. When one kid is good, so college coaches, from DeMarcus Townsend has offers from Arkansas, Baylor, Tennessee, UCLA. Those coaches are out there in East Naples checking out DeMarcus Townsend at the Palmetto Ridge. Well, they're going to see Jaquez Carter. They're going to see other players that are out there. So his exposure is going to help Jaquez Carter a lot. You're right.
Yeah. Man, what about Gulf Coast, man? What you seen with them?
So they're going to be interesting. Last year, we expected them to be pretty good. I think they shocked Southwest Florida by beating South Fort Myers to win the district championship. So the school's first district championship. Pete Fulminati is like a Kramer Jr. He readily admits, he worked for Coach Kramer at Naples High, and he took a lot of that stuff. You see a lot of similarities in the program he's building. This will be his fifth or sixth season. I want to say sixth season. So he's well established. He's got some kids, Caden Frost at quarterback. This will be his fourth year starting. That is very, very, very rare at the varsity level, especially at quarterback. I mean, to start as a freshman at quarterback, that's pretty impressive. Obviously, we talk recruits. They got a tight end, a big tight end, 6'6", 250, I believe, a big dude in George Takis, who was committed to Notre Dame. So that's legit. But they did lose DeMarcus Townsend. They lost basically every running back. They lost some receivers. They got some decent ones back, so it's going to be interesting. However, as I said, Fulminati, he's worked real hard to establish a culture there, establish a self-sustaining program that'll help, build success in the future, as you see in Naples. I think they're going to be good again, man. I think they're definitely going to make a run for the playoffs.
Yeah. As far as I know, the tight end, is a big-time recruit.
Yeah.
And you have Caden Frost, 4-year starter. He's got the look. He's 6'4". Got a big arm and stuff like that. What's the knock on him?
Well, he made mistakes early in his career, but as we said, man, you're playing as a freshman and a sophomore, as a 14 and 15-year-old against 17-year-old athletic dudes. So there were a lot of interceptions. I have to look at his stats last year. I don't think he made that big step forward, and part of that was just because they weren't throwing it as much, just because they had DeMarcus Townsend. So that may have detracted from him as far as recruiting-wise. He's a good football player. He led them to a district championship, the school's first, but he didn't put up crazy numbers. That goes along with George Takis, the tight end we talked about. He didn't have a bunch of big receiving yards. I think he only had like 300 yards, less than that last year. And Coach Fulminati even says, we didn't use our tight ends the way we should have. We're going to rectify that this year. So we could see a lot more passing, especially since they don't have a lot back in the backfield. So maybe this is that year that he throws for 2,000 yards and all the colleges come knocking. Because as you said, he had that size you talk about, 6'4", solid dude. He's not skinny. He's built pretty well. So he definitely, and he had a couple small offers, small Division I, but none of the big things that we see.
Oh, like where?
I want to say Southern Miss again. Like I feel like Southern Miss is offering everybody here in Collier County. But like Eastern Michigan, maybe things like that, like in the MAC and schools like that.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, I forgot. Naples clipped one of their tight ends. I forgot what the guy's name is, but he goes to Naples, man. He's supposed to be a big part of their offense this year.
I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head. I know they had a guy last year, Chris Hanlon, who actually was going to Michigan as a walk-on, but he graduated.
Okay.
As far as the other tight end, I mean, there's a lot of mouths to feed in the Naples offense. As I said, they got the two running backs, two quarterbacks maybe playing, two great receivers. So it'll be interesting to see like who gets the bulk of those carries, those yards.
Yeah. Man, how about BC, man? Did you get out to BC this year?
Yep. I was there today just chatting with Coach Jackson. So I'm actually kind of excited about Barron Collier just because I think they're trending in the right direction, and it's always fun when you have two good teams in the same district. And we're going to have three, I think, when you got Palmetto Ridge, Barron Collier, Naples. The fourth team in that district is Golden Gate. I think they're going to be better. They were very young last year. But when Coach Jackson arrived 3 years ago, this is his third season, Barron went down. They had gone 3-6 the year before. It was their first losing season in 10, 12 years. And so when he got there, it was kind of a rebuilding. First year, they went 6-4. They didn't make the playoffs, but they had a winning record. Last year, they go 5-5, but they make the playoffs. They got, I think, like 12 starters back, like a good amount, especially on defense. A bunch of skill guys back. And so there's some excitement at Barron Collier. For the first time since Coach Jackson arrived, I feel like the expectations have stepped up. And so they're kind of playing not as the underdog anymore, but as a team that, everybody looks to do good things. So it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt to that, how they adjust to that, if pressure will get to them, if they get big heads, which we see with a lot of high school kids. You never know what a 16, 17-year-old kid's going to react. So it's going to be very, very interesting, but I think they should be good. Coach Jackson, I think, is a very good coach. They built a very tough schedule. 9 of the 10 teams they're going to play are playoff teams from last year, including one team from California, which is pretty cool. So a lot of good storylines coming out of Barron Collier this year.
Yeah, man. They got Dana Brown coming back, and they got a new quarterback, right?
They got a kid, Jacob Coleman, who played last year. You remember their quarterback, Jack Buell. He collapsed his lung in a game, and so he was in the hospital for a week, and he missed 5-6 games. And when he did, Jacob Coleman stepped in and played. I think he played against Naples and in the playoff game, so 2 really big games for them. So he's got big-time experience. He's a year older. I talked to him today, and, last year I talked to him, he was a little junior. He's probably like 5'8". Now he's 5'11", 180, put on some pounds. So he's definitely matured, and he knows that he's going to be the starting quarterback now. He's not playing second string, so he's trying to develop that and some ball skills. So he's he's got a little bit coming back, and as you said, he's got some weapons, including Dana Brown there, who ran for 1,000 yards last year.
And they got a wide receiver role, right?
Yeah, Jay Droll, man, he's a stud, a two-way starter. He's going to be a junior. He was just a sophomore last year. I don't have my notes in front of me, but Coach Jackson was rattling off the returns they've got. They've got a bunch of receivers back. Ryan Harder is another name I remember. And he's so confident in his offense that Dana Brown, 1,000-yard rusher, he's going to be mainly a defensive back. He's switching over to defense. He's still going to run the ball a little bit, but the kid named Andre Katizabal, who played running back a little bit last year, he's going to be the main running back. So they got a lot of options out there in Cougar Nation.
Wow. Man, we're getting into... Hey, Golden Gate, man. So Golden Gate is they're just in rebuilding mode still, huh?
Well, it's tough, man, because as I said, they were very young last year. They hit this cycle where they had a bunch of sophomores. I think 7 sophomores started last year, including their quarterback, including their running back. Both those guys are back. Coach DeGrigoly is excited about the enthusiasm of his team, the energy. However, with those guys being sophomores last year, they're just juniors this year, so they're still kind of young. They do have starting experience, obviously, and as I said, they're in a tough district with Palmetto Ridge, Barron Collier, and Naples High School, so going to be tough for the Titans. We'll see what they can do, but Coach DeGrigoly's been out there a while, so he knows these guys. He knows what he's doing. It's just we don't know if they're going to take that next step this year between that sophomore and junior season.
Okay, all right. Man, let's talk about FBA Community School in Newman, man. What have you got out there to see those guys?
I've talked to Coach Damon Jones at Newman a lot, and a little bit with Sparacio at First Baptist. I haven't been out there yet. I do know that First Baptist, they got a kid committed to Boston College, Joe Sparacio, Billy Sparacio, the coach's son. And, I mentioned at the top of the show that this Big 15 list, there's no shame in being left off. There's a ton of good recruits, especially in Lee County. Joe Sparacio committed to Boston College, and he's not even on the top 15. So he's going to do some damage this year. First Baptist, always very good, always the best small team school in the area, won 5 straight district championships. Joe Sparacio was our Defensive Player of the Year last year. Now, we also played a little bit of a running back, tight end, kind of did it all for the team. I think had something like 12 touchdowns or something. And as I said, that wasn't even his main position. His main was linebacker defense. So he switched over. He's going to be, I think, their full-time ball carrier this year. In the spring game, he had like 100 yards and 3 touchdowns on 8 carries, something ridiculous like that. This dude might be our Broxton Trophy winner. If I had to put money on somebody I think would win the Broxton this year, as far as best overall player, it would be Joe Sparacio, linebacker, running back at First Baptist, because he's going to be the leading tackler at First Baptist, a team that's going to be really good, that's going to make the playoffs, and he might rush for 1,000 yards as well. So all-around player, committed to Boston College. I mean, he's going to be tough.
Yeah, man. It's community school. Do they even have a football team? Because I remember, this year, like they were like one of the top basketball teams in the state or in the country, and all of a sudden they don't have basketball anymore. Did they give up on football too?
No. They're back. They lost some guys. They're young. They didn't play a spring game, I don't think, so they've kind of been out of the news. We do these news updates on all our teams. They started practice a couple of days later. So I'm not as caught up on them, but they do have a quarterback back. I was just seeing that today, a guy named Richard Riesinger, who played quarterback at Newman, also played a little bit at the community school. They do have a team. Some other coach was telling me he thought they were going to be pretty decent. Their coach, Paul Silvidio, he knows what he's doing. He's been there since the program began in 2010. He played college football for Bobby Bowden up at Florida State, so he knows what he's doing. I think they'll probably be good. What's interesting, something we haven't talked about yet, is the new playoff system and how you make the playoffs based on points now. And at the small school level, there are no districts. So First Baptist, Community School, St. John Newman, they don't play in districts anymore. up at the upper levels, they still have districts. You win your district championship, you're automatically in the playoffs. That's not the case down at the lower level. So they just have regions, 4 regions across the state, and I think 4 teams from each region make the playoffs. Community schools region has the small schools from this area and the East Coast, Miami area. So it's conceivable they can make the playoffs again just by being one of those top 4 teams. That's not impossible for sure.
Wow, man. What do you heard from Newman, man? Besides, I know you haven't got out there, man, but any chirping?
Newman, yeah, I think they're going to be better. Last year, I think they went 5-5, which was good considering they went 0-9 the year before, and they brought in Damon Jones, a very, very popular local coach. You know, he started the program at community school back in 2010. Went and coached at Riverdale, a big 7A school for 2 years. Comes back, you know, he's a Naples guy. He went to Lely High School, played tight end at Dartmouth. He was an assistant at Immokalee when Edwin James was there in the mid-'90s. So Damon Jones, very bright dude, nice guy. I mean, great to talk to, knows what he's doing. So he's got numbers up. They got about 35 guys, which I told you that's the number Immokalee has. So we're talking a 2A school with 35 kids. That's good. I mentioned that First Baptist coach's son is a stud. At St. John Newman, coach's son is also a stud. Jensen Jones led the team last year in receiving and rushing. And not only that, but he's a stud baseball player. So great all-around athlete. He's going to be starting at quarterback for them. He's going to be playing some linebacker for them. They got 2 transfers at running back from Lely, so kids that, you know, used to playing at a bigger school, now they're down at St. John Newman. So I think you're going to see an improvement from them, and they could, again, challenge for the playoffs. The advantage of not having districts in 2A is last year Newman goes 5-5. They don't make the playoffs because they finished 3rd in a very, very good district with First Baptist and community school. This year it doesn't matter. You know, any team can make the playoffs no matter what area you're playing from. So if Newman goes 5-5 again, there's a very good chance that they do make the playoffs.
Damn, I almost forgot Marco Island has a team, man. Did you get the chance to make it over the bridge?
I have not. Just looking at them, looks like they did lose. I mean, they're still struggling to establish a program. They're in their 3rd coach in like 6-7 years. Damon Corio, who's a nice guy, he's working to establish a program. It's his 2nd season, so 2nd season in his offense with his players. They did lose their top players from last year, their quarterback, their best all-around everything guy, Tyler Gresham. So I don't know. It's going to be difficult, man, because they're playing those First Baptist, community school, St. John Newman. I mean, those are 3 very good small school programs. So it's a uphill battle for Marco Island, especially being, you know, like you said, over the bridge on that island where there's not a bunch of kids, I don't think, anyway. So there's who you drawn from to play football, you know. It's tough.
Yeah, man. Hey, man. Dog, so we made it through the school, man. Let's talk about some hidden gems, man. You got to tell me there's a couple hidden gems, like a couple players that nobody knows about that you know about either through coaches or watching the practices, man.
Wow, you put me on the spot, man. I don't know. We covered a lot.
Yeah. All right, I'll let you off the hook. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I don't know. Just trying to think of some guys maybe that we didn't mention. You know, I know they're young. We mentioned Golden Gate, so they got a quarterback back, Jay Herrard, who kind of is in that mold of a runner who's going to put up some yards, also throw for some. He's a guy that I think could do some good things, but again, he's in a tough district. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I touched on most of them.
Okay. Well, give me your top 5. It doesn't, no recruits, no underwear Olympics, but top 5 players. Not in any particular order, but top 5 players.
Well, if I'm picking top 5, and let's say I'm trying to figure out who our player of the year is going to be, you know, you always have an advantage for playing both ways, especially if you play both ways well. A really, really good offensive player, all right, let me say, a really good defensive and offensive player is going to be a really, really good offensive player, if that makes any sense to you, because you're doing two different things, in my book at least. And I'm the one voting on it with my other sports writers here at the paper. So I mentioned Joe Sparacio at First Baptist. Same thing, this dude's been starting. This will be his fourth year starting. He's a stud, committed to Boston College. Out at Immokalee, I like Shedro Lewis. Very fast kid. I mean, tough to guard and a good defensive back as well. Out in Naples, gosh, man. Wooby York's the big guy, their receiver, who had, I think, 500 yards receiving last year. But in that Naples offense, man, they don't throw it a ton. And the running back, man, a number one running back at Naples is going to put up a ton of yards. So look for big things from Chez Malusi. He's a junior. Last year, as a sophomore, had about 800 yards total, scored some touchdowns. He did some good things. Josh S. Carter, I can't not mention him, man. He was our Broxton Player of the Year last year. He's at Palmetto Ridge now. And I think, like I said, man, if their defense gives up 40 points a game like they did in the spring, he's going to be whipping that ball around. He's going to throw for 30 touchdowns. Gosh, let's see. Was that 4? What else do I need?
Yeah, 4.
Boy, I don't know. Who's your pick? You tell me. Give me a fifth.
I got Gene Joseph.
Gene Joseph. How can I forget Gene Joseph? He's a two-way player. That's perfect. Plays great wide receiver. The only question is, are they going to get the ball to him as they said they were going to? They got a young quarterback, young offense, a new offensive coordinator, new coach. So it might be tough for him to put up the offensive numbers, but defensively, man, he was a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year last year. So, yeah, definitely. Tremendous athlete. He'd definitely be in my top 5.
Yeah. My prediction is going to be the year of the running back. I think the running back is going to make an emergence. And I'm looking at Chad Malusi, DeMarcus Townsend, and Henderson Francois. I think Dana Brown, those 4 guys are going to put up some incredible numbers this year.
And don't forget, man, the 2 guys at Immokalee coming back. Fred Green, Knox Jackson. So Abraham Alsey in there. So, yeah, this could be it. Last year we saw a ton of quarterbacks. I think, 5 guys threw for more than 1,000 yards, which is a lot in high school. So you mentioned the spread offense. We saw them throwing it around a bit more, but that could be it, man. We have some really, really good running backs this year.
Yeah. We definitely have some great running backs, man. But, man, Doug, so name 2 games, Doug, that we should definitely circle on our calendar.
Well, I've been looking at the early season schedule, just trying to see what kind of piques my interest. Look at week 2. You got Barron Collier playing at First Baptist.
What?
This is First Baptist, small First Baptist stepping up and playing a Collier County public school program. Now, we have not really seen this at all. I think Golden Gate played St. John Newman in a spring game or preseason game a few years back. But the big public schools here have not really played the small school. So kudos to First Baptist for stepping up the schedule and for Barron Collier. I mean, they got a lot to lose going down and playing a small 2A school, because if you win, they say, oh, big deal, you beat the 2A school. If you lose, it's holy cow, you lost to a 2A school.
Yeah.
But this is cool because Barron and First Baptist are right there in the same block. They're a mile apart. Billy Sparacio coached at Barron Collier before moving to First Baptist to become the athletic director and football coach. Yeah. So that's very, very cool. Cool storylines there. Again, that's always been important in recent memory is Palmetto Ridge and Barron Collier, because they play in the same district with Naples. Naples probably still the favorite in that district. I think they'll probably win it. So now you're competing. Well, heck, actually, with the new playoff system, I guess you're not competing for that district runner-up. You know what I mean? Both those teams could still make the playoff, but that's going to be a competitive game. I think you'll see a lot of points scored there. That's always fun to watch. So that's a couple that I'm looking forward to.
Hey, I asked you this question the first time you was on my podcast. I'm going to ask you again, man. Who is 2 teams? The biggest surprise team that's going to surprise everybody, and the biggest potential disappointment.
Oh, put me on the spot, man. I think the biggest surprise might be St. John Newman, just because I think they get overlooked. I mean, obviously, you know the big ones. You know Immokalee going to be good again. First Baptist going to be good again. Naples, we talked about Barron Collier. There's buzz around them. I'm not hearing a lot of buzz around Newman just because they kind of are their own little thing. They're 2A. I think they're going to be good. I think they could compete for a playoff. Potential disappointment, man. I love the dudes out at Gulf Coast. I love Coach Fulman and I, but if I had to pick one, it would be them just because, as I said, they did so well last year. They kind of outplayed themselves by playing solid team ball. They won a district championship, but they did lose a lot. They got a quarterback back and a big tight end, but not a ton else on offense. So I think it could be them to take a step back. I know Palm of the Ridge, I see them taking a step forward, but I think everyone expects that just because they got those two stud transfers. But yeah, I guess if I had to pick one, no offense, Sharks, I'd pick Gulf Coast.
Okay. All right, man. That's good, man. What's the wrap up, man? What's new at the paper, man? What's your future, man? What's going on?
So,
Anything that we should know about?
I'll bust this news on your podcast, man. We haven't announced this, but we are going to be doing a Prepzone pregame live show every Friday night at 6:40, starting at 6:40, leading up to kickoff. I'll be doing it live from one of the games, and it'll be streamed on our website and also on Facebook Live. So we'll be at the field. We'll be talking football live. We can be taking interaction from fans via Facebook. So that's the future for us. We'll be doing more video, but I'm pretty excited about that. It's going to be live 6:40 to 7 o'clock every Friday night. I'm nervous because I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm a writer. I'm not a TV dude. I'll be holding the mic, talking for 20 minutes, so it's going to be interesting. I'm nervous. I'm excited, but I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to see that too, man. We're going to have a show every Monday night. It's called Big Dream Sports, man. You guys check that out. We're going to be talking about basketball. No, we're going to be talking about football. Collier County. I'm the Collier County guy, so yeah. Hey, you're welcome on the show anytime you want to, visit, man. Make your
hey, for sure, man. That'd be fun. And you getting after any games this Friday or coming up? I know you got the young kid.
Absolutely.
Out there, but
on Thursday, I'm going to go see my nephew play against Barron. He's playing JV, and the other one, I think I'm going to get to go see the Naples game. I want to see Naples put a hurting on North Fort Myers, man. You know what I'm saying? I love Ernest Graham, man, but you know what? We're gonna put a hurting on him, man.
Well, that's always interesting to see one of the best teams in Lee County versus one of the best teams in Collier County, and I know both teams take a lot of pride in that. To knock off Naples, that's a big thing for any school, especially in Lee County. And Naples takes pride in defending that Collier County title. And man, both these teams got some dudes, so I think it's going to be a very fun, exciting game. I'll be out there. Come say what up to me because it's going to be fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I can't wait, man. But, man, thank you so much again for blessing the show, man. I got to get with you mid-season, man. We got to do another show, man. You're always welcome to No Cupcake Zone, man.
Hey, man, anytime, and I appreciate what you're doing, man. The more exposure we can get for Collier County sports, man, I think it's very cool that you're doing this. A local show, talking to local people, man. So thank you for what you're doing.
All right, man. Hey, man, I appreciate that, man. That's awesome, bro.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, man. You have a good night, man.
All right, man. We'll talk to you next time.
All right, man. Later.
Bye.
Hey, man, that was Adam Fisher, man. Adam Fisher from Naples Daily News, man. Hey, man, he was on the show 2 previous times, man. Make sure you guys go check him out on Twitter. Also, make him check him out on Facebook, IG, also Naples Daily News, man. He's great reporter, man. He's been on the grind for a while. Make sure you guys check out No Cupcake Zone podcast, man. Hey, Hey, we doing this thing. And also Big Dream Sports, man. Great podcast, man. Holla at your boy, man. Holla. Yeah.